Maybe she is. Okay, well, we're going to go live right now. So welcome to the Lovecraft eZine podcast. Coming to you 30 seconds early because could not stop Ben and Rick from talking about Doctor Strange. And I wanted to do that on air. So anyway, welcome. Hey, it's Mother's Day.
Yeah, some Niggurath.
Gorath, we should actually shout.
Anyway, I want to give a shout out to my mom. She watches us live every Sunday. And I'm taking her to lunch tomorrow for Mother's Day. So
Aww.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
Isn't that sweet?
It's 6 o'clock.
It's 6 o'clock.
What the? Everybody's alarms are going off. All right, it's not 6 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock. 6 o'clock where you are. All right. Well, anyway, to all my patrons, thank you for being on Patreon. Got some more cool stuff coming soon. And hey, there's Bridget. Told you she'd probably be here. Why don't we do introductions and start with Matt and his prizes?
All right. So, prize today is a hardcover novella, in the Lovecraft Museum by Steve Resnick Tem. I happen to come up with a second copy. So if you want to win this, send an email to ezineprizes@gmail.com and put museum in the subject heading. We usually wait about 6 weeks to draw a winner, so you got plenty of time to enter, but the only way you get a chance to win is if you enter.
Yeah, for example, and I try not to get this far behind, every once in a while I do, but the Matthew Lyons podcast went to audio today. And so, but late for me, it was like 3 weeks. So even late, you still have plenty of time to get on these contests. So, yeah. Hey, Bridget.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm great.
Happy Mother's Day.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was a smidge late because my goofy son decided to call me at 2:58. But hey, I got a happy Mother's Day, so I can't complain.
There you go. Well, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, I am Bridget Brenmark, and I create music and art things. And if you're into horror music, by the way, I moderate a group on Facebook called Haunting Melody Horror Music Group. So if you want to come on over and like that page, I post a lot about horror music. It's good.
See, it's a group. It's a group, though, right? Not a page.
It's a group.
So if you go to Facebook and you type in Haunting Melody, you probably just be taken right to it.
Yes.
Pete, sorry, what?
Is Haunting Melodies a wholly owned subsidiary of the Lovecraft eZine, or is it a standalone venture?
Quit being sexist. She can do her own thing.
Listen, she can do her own thing. Absolutely. I just, you have essentially, taken the most of the shares of the Arkham Book Exchange. So I'm just saying that,
he's trying to get stuff out of everything.
All right, I'm gonna pretend that I know what you guys are talking about, but I actually
you get
don't.
it, Bridget.
No, Bridget has some great stuff. Go to and Bridget-Brenmark.com. Bridget is with 2 T's and an E at the end.
Yes.
Which I think you can see on
Bridget,
the screen.
like a
I'm
small
not sure.
bridge.
Bridget. Yes. Ben, stop lying about me bullying you and introduce yourself.
I'm Ben. I'm Mike's favorite punching bag. Even going back to when I was just a fan of the show, and I make a comment because I was so excited to hear them talk about a book, and then Mike just trash talks me and belittles me.
Yeah, because everybody listening to this show knows that's what I do, right?
It's exactly what he does. That's why, like, poor Logan, he's not even allowed to show his face in the video feed.
He doesn't want to show his face.
Sure. It's totally not bullying.
Forget it.
So
You're done with
I'm
you,
just
Pete.
here to make this podcast difficult.
Job well done. Yes, introduce yourself.
I'm Pete Rollick, writer, reviewer, editor, world traveler, cooker of fine meats. I did a brisket today.
And a turkey last week, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, how'd that turkey turn out?
Delicious. It was
Yeah.
probably the best turkey I've ever had.
I've got a barbecue now. I've actually been learning to cook meat as well. So I'll have to start exchanging some recipes with you.
Awesome.
We're doing hot links and sausages later today. So
I'm seeing. Okay, first I see that he's not just picking on me; he's also picking on Pete. Ban Pete Rollick, I see on there, and then hashtag free Logan. So, yeah.
I made lentils. It wasn't meat, but I made some lentils.
Ham and lentils or just lentils?
Lentils. It's Indian dal.
Okay.
Isabel likes it.
Rick, you want to introduce yourself, sir?
I'm Rick Lay, writer, pulp magazine collector who just went to Marvel Heaven with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
All right. Did we get everybody? Maybe you think we did? Yeah. I think Melissa's working. Okay, so we don't have a guest today. Jonathan Mayberry was going to be here. He was very apologetic and sent me an email and said that he had a book tour that needed to be extended. I don't know what it was. Something like that, but he's a nice guy. We'll get him on sometime in the near future, I'm sure. So he was very apologetic about it. And his book, by the way, upcoming book is called Kagan the Damned. That's Kagen, Kagan the Damned. So this episode is brought to you. All the episodes are actually brought to you by Janet Jackson and her 2004 wardrobe malfunction. Did you guys know that's why YouTube was created? Surely you know this, Ben.
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
All right, so you I mean, you were a young child at the time, but in 2004, she had a little bit of a wardrobe malfunction on, what was it?
Super Bowl.
It was the Super Bowl. That's right. So it was like for 9/16 of a second, and the entire country went crazy about it. Anyway, so apparently these three guys that work for PayPal or owned PayPal, or I don't know what they did for PayPal, thought they're in their 20s, and they thought, wouldn't it be great if we could view this? And that's about a year later, YouTube was created because they wanted to share videos like that. I'm not making this up. You can Google it. So every YouTube video you have ever seen is because of that. This reminds me of the whole VHS beta thing too. That's all about sex. That's why VHS won over Betamax.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah, people usually think it's because of the quality issues and the cost, but yeah, it's absolutely because one industry was supported by Sony and one wasn't supported by Sony, but JVC didn't care, and so VHS won.
Yeah. So I guess a lot of neat things had their origins in things like that. Rick is dying to talk about Doctor Strange. So we're going to talk about PICARD too, but Ben wants to do a spoiler.
And Strange New Worlds.
And Strange New Worlds. Yeah, I got a list here.
And Moon Knight.
Yeah,
but I saw Moon Knight too.
My point is, we're going to leave PICARD to the last and warn people because Ben wants to talk about it with spoilers. So why don't we? How was Doctor Strange, Rick?
I think it moved fast, had some incredible cameos. There was one character, I'm not going to say what it was, but I did not expect to see them bring in a certain actor. I think.
Are we thinking of the same person?
No, I promise you're not.
Oh, all right. Okay.
But I thought it did everything without going overboard, and I've heard some criticism that it didn't do enough. It's like some people wanted it to go cameo crazy. And I think it restrained itself well enough that it told a coherent story with an excellent villain.
I think people are getting a little spoiled. I mean, these superhero movies are utterly fantastic. You know, I mean, imagine 30 years ago.
I was there. I saw those movies. They were not good.
Hey, we had Batman '89. That one was pretty good.
We had Batman '89. We had Superman '78. But what we did not have was superhero movies with cameos and so forth. I mean,
we
they're
had
spoiled.
Trial of the Incredible Hulk on TV with Daredevil in it, and John Rhys Davies as the Kingpin. You don't remember that one?
Yeah, those were bad.
And of course, a little bit later, just on the cusp, we had the greatest superhero movie of all time in 1999. No, Mystery Men.
Mystery Men's.
Yes.
Okay.
Baby Bowler.
People rag on Mystery Men, but I love
Mystery Men is awesome.
I love Mystery Man too.
So good.
It is. It's funny. It's hilarious. You know,
I love
especially
Invisible
Mr. Furious.
But my favorite line is when they're talking about who was it, Captain Freedom?
Captain Amazing.
Captain Amazing. Yeah.
Captain Amazing. And they say, he's this guy. Well, he can't be this guy. He wears glasses.
Yeah.
Well, he takes the glasses off when he becomes a superhero.
Because that makes no sense at all. How would he see?
Yeah.
No, but in many ways, you know, and it not in many ways. Mystery Men is about that B team of superheroes,
right?
Whether it be the Legion Rejects or whatever, you know, the Runaways. Not those guys.
So many great lines. We've always been each other's greatest nemesis. What's the plural on that? You know, and I don't know. It's a great movie. You know, it's amazing. I actually have I want to talk about this later, but I watched that movie for the millionth time recently, and also watched The 13th Warrior for the millionth time recently. And these are both really good movies that were just universally panned when they came out. You guys like The 13th Warrior? So
I like The 13th Warrior. I like that it's essentially a retelling of Beowulf.
Mm-hmm.
I also like that it's secretly tied into the Cthulhu mythos. And you don't know that?
Mm-mm.
So if you own the original book by Michael Crichton called Eaters of the Dead, there's a list of sources in the back, and one of them is the Necronomicon.
I heard the book was terrible. That the movie was vastly superior.
I like the book, but
I haven't read the book.
It was a bestseller at the time.
But I think once you realize it's Beowulf, it's better in a movie than in print.
Yes.
Yeah, and the Viking prayer and everything. It's just a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but when the guy who was the translator for Eben, the movie received such bad reviews that he wanted his name taken off of it and didn't act again until like 4 years later. You know, that's how bad the 13th Warrior was received. Badly it was received. But I don't know, it's a good movie. You know, kind of like The Thing. Anyway, Doctor Strange, what else do you want to say about it, guys?
So I agree with Rick that it was good. I think if the biggest issue is maybe that, so originally it was supposed to come out before Spider-Man No Way Home. And there are some themes in it that maybe were also handled in that movie. And so they don't have quite the same impact in this one. And if that doesn't make sense, if you watch both movies, you'll figure out what I mean. So because this one ended up coming out after No Way Home, that that kind of caused some issues. There are some really good cameos. The one that everyone's excited about, there's actually another one in that scene that surprised me even more, which I can't discuss for whatever it is, whatever Mike's spoiler policy is, 90 days or Facebook comments.
That's Pete's policy, actually.
Okay, so in 90 days,
I just work here.
in 90 days, we should have another discussion on it.
All right.
There's a lot of stuff that I think would be very relevant to this podcast in this movie. And the last thing I'll say is one of my problems with the previous Doctor Strange movie and how he was handled in Avengers is they basically he was the new Tony Stark, right? He was Tony Stark, but it was magic. And his jokes were written like they're written for Robert Downey Jr. They shaved his beard to look like Robert Downey Jr., like everything. This movie, he actually feels like Doctor Strange. He has a more dry sense of humor. He's a different character. So I would say that was another benefit.
All right. Good.
And also, Strange in the West is making strange. Seeing it,
Rick, your mic is acting up. Did something change from a few minutes ago? That seems better.
the scene in the church, somebody has.
No, that's not better. Yeah, there we go. We can talk about Doctor Who as well. Well, no, we can't because I'm sure Rick wants to get in on that. Have you guys seen the new series on Hulu, Under the Banner of Heaven? It's
The Mormon.
the Mormon mystery thing. Yeah, it's actually pretty good. It's 3 episodes in. Yeah. So and Spider-Man stars in it, Andrew Garfield. So, say something else, Rick.
Now you're gonna
problem.
Mike's got a problem now.
No, I think we're just echoing into
Okay.
Rick. Can you hear me all right?
You're fine.
All right, Rick, you might want to turn off your computer, actually, and then turn it back on. I'll hold off any what things you want to talk about till then. We've got plenty to talk about.
Let me just like that's I think because of the store.
Talk about TBR list, if everyone can hear me clearly. What is it? Okay, yes. So for the last few weeks, I've been doing a TBR list on the comments, and so here's what we have. Men, Women, and Chainsaws by Stephen Graham Jones apparently is coming out on Kindle on May the 11th.
I'm sorry, is this that My Heart is a Chainsaw book?
No, this is Men, Women, and Chainsaws. That's the title. I think it's a novella.
Right.
Yeah. Crooked by Austin Grossman. Now, I was sent an email by a painter in Alaska by the name of John Coyne, and he recommended this book. He says, my home is now Alaska, has now been for over a decade. Anyway, I'm an artist and spend a lot of time in my studio with music and podcasts in the background. I always catch your show. Also, the reading recommendations I've gotten from your podcast have been priceless. Alaska is just chock full of cosmicism. I'm sure Laird would agree. Times can be tough, but cosmic horror and your podcast helps with the rough spots. So that was nice of him to say. And he recommended a book called Crooked by Austin Grossman. And I said, what is that? Is that like a zombie movie? And it's actually a very book. He goes, no, it's actually a very Lovecraftian book with an alternate version of Richard Nixon. battling, I guess, standing between us and horrors from another reality. So, yeah. And I know it's probably good because it's written by the guy who wrote this book, Pete. Soon I Will Be Invincible.
I like that book.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good superhero book, and it's really funny. As far as I can tell, he's only written 3 books. But anyway, yeah, pick up Crooked. John said it's very Lovecraftian. Brand new book. I don't think it's out quite yet.
No, it's out. It's been out since. Oh, you're talking.
Oh yeah, something in the water. Douglas Wynn.
Yeah, that's out.
That's out. Okay. I've got a link to that too, and it's got. Look at that artwork. You can't if you're listening later.
That's M. Wayne Miller.
Yeah.
He's like been a really good Lovecraftian artist. Like if you got the book, I think it was World War Cthulhu. If you were able to get one of the editions, he had like 24 individual color plates, one for each story. They're exquisite.
There's black and whites in this one as well. This is a Douglas Wynn collection, and a nice surprise for me. When I got this, it says for Mike Davis, who raised a big tent for the Weird Carnival. So,
that's nice.
Yeah.
Weird House is actually doing a good job producing lovely little hardcovers recently. They have got another 2 books coming out, like The Howling Horror is an anthology. And then one of their cottage artists is Donald Tyson. And he's going to have another collection of stories coming out from them too.
Okay.
Alas.
Yeah. Rick, how you doing? How's your mic?
How does it sound?
Your sounds much better. Thank you. Yeah. All right. So did we say everything we wanted to say about Doctor Strange?
Just to finish what I was saying before.
Yes.
The scene in the church where a question is asked of Doctor Strange, which really sets up the whole movie. Because we've accepted a lot of things from Doctor Strange, which maybe we shouldn't have accepted in the past. I'll just say that.
All right. Now we've already mentioned that we are going to discuss Picard with spoilers at the very end of this podcast episode. Do you guys? I've not seen the Strange New Worlds first episode yet.
You should.
But I hear it's fantastic.
Anson Mott is fantastic actor.
Yeah.
Very good.
The show only exists because he was in Discovery season 2 as a main character, and the fans just loved him, and we're like demanding basically this show, and so now we have it.
Yeah, I heard something to that effect too.
He's fantastic, and it's living up to its potential. But I also would say the other in the main cast, like Ethan Peck as Spock, is actually great.
Yeah.
As well, and Rebecca Romaine as number 1, who they named in the show Una. We've only had 1 episode, but she was also great in Discovery, so I'm expecting a lot of positive there. And it's not like the best single episode of Star Trek ever, but it's like a really solid first episode and a good sign of where we're going.
The
We're
only
really
criticism I may have of it is that I think there was a continuity problem that I don't want to go into, but
there's at least 4 of them.
It involved an alien race of the original Star Trek.
I got to say, we really are. Again, I'll say we're living in a golden age of television. Because of streaming, all the things that are possible now that weren't possible even, say 10 years ago. What was the other thing that we wanted to talk about besides Picard? That was spoiler free. Was there anything else?
Doctor Who.
Oh yeah, there's a new Doctor Who. I believe you say his name, Kitagawa. He's 29 years old. Still is not the youngest Doctor Who ever. That was Matt Smith. He was 26. Rick, the most recent I can find online is season 12, the Timeless Children. So I know there was at least another season after that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they dropped
Yeah.
those on BBC America for like a couple weeks and then they disappear.
Really? Well, that's
Yeah.
why I can't find it. So Russell T Davies, the showrunner again, says he was struck by Gatwa's talent the moment he saw him in auditions. Quote, sometimes talent walks through the door and it's so bright and bold and brilliant, I just stand back in awe and thank my lucky stars. He dazzled us, seized hold of the Doctor, and owned those TARDIS keys in seconds. It's an honor to work with him and a hoot. I can't wait to get started. I mean, this sounds very promising, especially coming from Davies, you know?
Yeah, the last episode with the Sea Devils was a disappointment.
Yeah, I wasn't impressed, but it is what it is.
It just seemed to be going through the motions.
Right.
And this relationship between the Doctor and Jazz did not get set up properly. Not like Rose and the 10th Doctor.
Well,
I'm not gonna
anyway,
argue.
I'm happy about the new Doctor. To continue the books, just one more. Disappearance at Devil's Rock is $1.99 on Kindle for the last couple days and maybe for the next few days. So
Mike,
that's, yeah.
Can I plug a book?
yeah.
Sorry.
Will Murray,
Yes, please.
as this is more, let me just make sure I got it. Oh, I got it. I had it right the first time.
The
He's
Spider.
written a whole novel, The Spider, Scourge of the Scorpion. Haven't had a chance to read it, but he does excellent pulp style action.
We recently, Rick talked to Will Murray on a recent Patreon podcast. I'll be putting that one on audio tomorrow for those who listen and don't watch. But we're going to have him on again soon. Something I didn't know about Will is he was a remote viewer, I guess. And that can fill a whole episode. So we're going to do another Patreon podcast with him sometime in the next 2 months or so. So,
Mike, did you finish Outer Range?
I'm finished with Outer Range.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the episodes last week and said, nah, that's it.
Okay.
6 hours of TV that went nowhere.
Man, I thought this last couple of episodes were really good.
Yeah, Bridget really likes the show.
It wrapped up a lot of things that did seem kind of tedious and long being set up, but it wrapped things up really in a very intriguing way.
Is that the end of the show, Bridget?
I don't know. Season, yeah, maybe.
I mean, no, I meant season. It's 8 episodes then, right?
I don't know for sure, but that's all that's out now.
Yeah, I think that
it seemed like it was a season ender.
Yeah, I think it is.
It did a good job. The ones I saw of making 6 hours feel like 24. So
yeah, I was right there with you, but it was the last thing I had to watch of all the things. Now I will tell you that I had the exact same feeling about the new season of Russian Doll. That I thought the first season of Russian Doll was really, really good. And then the first 3 episodes of the second season just left me going, yeah. But I stayed around for the soundtrack because I thought the soundtrack that they had picked was really good. Mm-hmm. And I was very pleased with the last 3 episodes.
What's Russian Doll about?
I agree.
Did you agree, Bridget?
Oh, sorry, you were talking about Russian Doll. My bad.
Yeah. So the first season of Russian Doll is about a New Yorker played by, was it Natasha Lyonne? who celebrates her 34th birthday, something like that, and immediately dies and wakes back up at the party and continues to die until she finds someone who is facing the same affliction over and over and over again.
Is that a movie or a series?
It's a series.
Okay. I think I have heard of this.
And it's essentially Groundhog Day for nihilists or New Yorkers.
Okay, I got to watch it.
But it's not, instead of being by days, it's every time she dies.
Right.
And the deaths, like it's not like, they're really hard for her to avoid, basically, right?
Yes.
Like, so it'll be random stuff, like she'll get in an elevator and the elevator will crash. Or she'll be walking down the street and suddenly like a grate will collapse underneath her. So she only goes, I think, a couple of days at a time, but it's a little bit different than Groundhog's Day.
Right. And then the second season is more a direct time travel thing.
Is the second season good?
Like I said, I didn't think that the first 3 episodes were that good because they changed the rules, and I don't like when you change the rules. But then things got better, and I thought they explored the new idea that they came up with really well in the last 3 episodes.
Okay.
And the music is just off the charts. At one point, they're using Depeche Mode's "Personal Jesus" as a walking song, which I think is a really great beat to do something to.
I gotta watch it then.
Yeah, you'll enjoy it.
Okay.
A lot of drug use, a lot of sex, a lot of nihilism, particularly if you're a New Yorker. That New York mindset is quite prevalent.
What's a New York mindset?
You'll see it.
All right. Okay, so one of my Patreons and our friend Kevin Scott Joyner has a podcast that he and some friends have created that's coming up. I just want to plug it real quick because if you go to forbiddenpod.com, which I thought I had up, there it is. You'll see a trailer for it, and it says, "Welcome to the new normal. The coming of the alter pandemic was swift and indiscriminate. The nations of the world had no defense against the rise of this new form of contagion, the metaphysical virus. Spreading at the speed of thought, the schiz, as it has come to be known, has wholly destabilized civilization, fracturing not just the sanity of the infected, but the very fabric of the reality that they inhabit. Contaminated locales are wastelands of ever-shifting geographies, teeming with the most horrifying creatures a plague-ridden mind can conjure." That's the first paragraph. You can go to forbiddenpod, pod.com, and get a taste of this, and you can sign up for their newsletter so that you know when they launch.
So,
yeah.
Hey, Mike, you know who I had drinks with last night?
Kevin Scott Joyner.
I did.
Yeah, because he was probably down there for John and John's Legati event.
Yes.
How was that?
Yeah, I want to hear how that was too.
So,
explain what it is for those who don't know.
Okay, so John Padgett, writer, editor, manager of the Grimscribe Press, and dear, I guess, friend of Thomas Legati, put together a thing that he called Gasoline Carnivals. And it's billed as a dramatic reading of stories from Thomas Legati by John Padgett and somebody else whose name escapes me right now. I don't have my notes. Anyway, John is a magnificent voice talent.
Yeah.
And just really pulled this off. What you need to understand is that both Kevin and I came from very far distances away. I drove 2.5 hours to get there. I think Kevin came from Tampa, which is like 2 hours away. So we listened to John read for probably an hour and 20 minutes straight. He did 3 pieces, and that got us from 9 to 10:30. And then he was like, I'm going to take a little break, but I'm going to come back for more. And unfortunately, both Kevin and I said, we got to go. We couldn't stay, it was, as it was, I didn't get home until like 3:00 in the morning. So, but he did a really magnificent job. The musical accompaniment was bang on. He produced some special vinyl recordings of of what he planned to read.
Nice.
Yeah, and I got one. There were only, I think, 30 printed.
So I've got a couple segues from this
Yeah, go ahead.
regarding John Padgett. The first segue is for Patreons. If you're a Patreon, you already know that John gave me 2 Ligotti stories that he's read that very few people have heard. I posted one on the Patreon, and I'm about to post the second one this week. And the second one is the Frolic. So he's a really, really, really great reader, and that's just one of the more benefit that you get by being a Patreon. Not trying to sound like a used car salesman, but I give him a lot, hopefully. And then the other thing is, this is for everyone. This YouTube channel, Lovecraft eZine YouTube channel, I've got a new playlist of horror short stories. Now, the first one is on there, read by Soren Narnia from Knife Point Horror. He reads Lovecraft's The Festival. That's just to get us started, though. John's going to read a Jeffrey Ford story for me that I'll be able to put out on that playlist in a couple of weeks. And I've got a few others coming as well. A story by Laird Barron that's going to be read, and that's just for everybody. It's not coming out on like a once a week thing, but just as I get the stories done, they'll be out there. So it's a great reading of the festival, so check it out. So
yeah, so I guess my recommendation is that if John brings this out again and does it again, go see it. It's really quite well done and really worth it.
All right, we got anything else? I have a few things if you guys don't.
I just have one thing. I'll just be quick before we discuss Midnight. A lot of people don't know Dracula takes place roughly from May to November. So there's a website and you can sign up, and every time there's an entry like in the novel, like a diary entry or a journal or a newspaper, or whatever, it emails you that entry. So it'll be like, oh, this night Jonathan Harker wrote this stuff. It'll email you all that stuff so you can kind of read it as the story's supposedly taking place.
Does that happen every year, or?
I think this is the first year that this person has done it, at least. I'll post the link in the YouTube chat. It's free because it's public domain. So you just get an email in the morning whenever there's supposed to be an entry for that day in the book. It's kind of a neat way to read through. And Dracula is, I consider it maybe the best horror novel, at least personally. If people have never read it, it's been in public domain for decades. Please go track it down. It's much scarier than any of the film versions.
Have you listened to the Audible version of it?
The one with Tim Curry?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
Yeah. It's not an audio drama, but for each character there's a different voice actor. It is fantastic.
And for those that don't know, this is an epistolic novel. So
right.
It's not just a novel and then you have different people reading the parts. It's like each part of the novel this is Jonathan Harker's journal. This is Mina Harker's journal. This is a newspaper article.
This is a letter to somebody.
So Ben, there was actually the copy I saw was for sale, I think, through Dark Regions Press. Someone had deconstructed Dracula and actually done reproductions, so you actually got individual letters.
And they had record, like, was it records?
They had it was like you got a copy of a journal, you got all the individual letters. It's all broken down, like you had the individual documents you could go through.
Yeah, and I think it actually comes with records for because some of the entries are like Dr. Seward recording or something, right?
Right. It was so expensive, I didn't get it. It was like $600.
I think.
Yeah, it looked pretty awesome though.
Kelly Young.
It's also going to take up a lot of room.
Yeah.
For Christmas, I got Dracula, which I'm holding in my hands, which you can see if you're watching on YouTube, illustrated by Edward Gorey. Now, it just does not get any better than that.
Now, I think he did the...
These are the illustrations that were used to develop the
set
stage
design.
Yeah. Yep, for which this Frank Langella in the Edward Gorey production of Dracula.
Ooh.
So, do you guys know about the Icelandic Dracula?
Yes. So, well, I mean, I'll let you say it, but yeah.
No, you go ahead.
He enters Eurovision?
No. So when they
A
published
Dracula
the
song contest.
When they published the novel in Icelandic, I don't remember exactly, but it's something like the translator reached out to Bram Stoker, and so he actually rewrote parts of it for them that are then translated into Icelandic. And then when Dr. Stoker's book came out, what is that now, 10 years ago or something?
Yeah.
They published these, they retranslated the Icelandic version back into English because it's so different.
Right. Like there's new characters and scenes, and it's essentially a variation of the novel.
You can buy this?
I think so.
Yeah, it's I'll pull up the name of it. It's they don't call it Dracula directly. It's like, yeah, Powers of Darkness. It's available on like Kindle and Audible and hardcover.
Nice t-shirt, Ben.
Yeah, it's sometimes we have to wear.
Yeah, is that your last shirt? You're down to your last shirt, so you wear
last
Lovecraft
last
eZine podcast t-shirt.
I lost a bet, something.
Yeah.
But really,
did your parents lose a bet with God?
Oh, see, Logan has to live with this every day. Everyone, just remember that. So when you see Arkham Cookie in the chat, just reach out to him, offer your condolences.
God.
Every day. What were you going to say about Dracula, Ben?
I don't know. Mike ruined it.
I forget. I interrupted him.
Powers of Darkness.
I'm using him as a poster boy. Look, you can buy the Lovecraft eZine podcast t-shirt. The link is in the show notes.
Powers of Darkness is the novel of the Icelandic version of Dracula that Pete mentioned. And to be clear, there's extra stuff in it that Bram Stoker wrote that didn't make it into the normal version of the novel.
Ooh, director's cut.
Sort of.
He probably just gave things he cut, like the opening chapter of Dracula's Guest.
So, but don't I haven't read it because I've read Dracula a bunch of times, and I don't know. If I'm going to read Dracula, I want to read the original. I'm not a big fan of rereading it's like, I don't know if you guys remember Fred Saberhagen novelized the Coppola movie. I didn't read that either. So, and I love Fred Saberhagen, but come on.
He had a vampire series as well.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name.
The Dracula tapes is the first one.
And he had the Holmes. I think it was the Holmes Dracula Files or something.
Yeah, I think. So Fred, the first one is sort of like the novel Dracula, but from Dracula's perspective.
And he's a hero.
And it's kind of a satire. It's not to give an example, when a wolf smashes through Lucy's window in Fred Saberhagen's novel, that's him taking the head of a wolf that he cut off and smashing the window in, because his vampires had different rules. It's a bit more of a satire. But that's probably why they hired him. We're
And
putting
when
Mike to
the
sleep, or
wolves-
Mike froze. I can't tell.
When the wolves tear the woman apart, that didn't happen. They helped her find a child that was lost.
Yes,
in the forest.
that's right. It is really good. I don't know. When he passed away, I think they went out of print. I don't know if they're back in print yet, but they're very good. The Dracula Tapes is the first one, and I want to say he wrote 5 or 6, including 1 or 2 that had Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, I now, thanks to my wonderful family, I now feel like I have the ultimate in print and on audio, because this Edward Gorey one is just great, obviously. And like Ben said, the Audible version, and with different characters, Tim Curry, I forget the other actors, but it's a magnificent production. It really is.
And I like that you pointed out it's not an audio drama, because audio dramas, they'll change the story. This is just a different actor for each part.
Right.
It's really well done. It's great.
Yeah.
The version of Dracula that I got is the Centipede Press one, and the
That's really pretty.
Yeah, the illustrations are by Greg Hildebrandt. So it's not the Edward Gorey, which after you get one Dracula, it's hard to justify getting more. But the art is just really
hard, but not
spectacular in
impossible.
this.
That is.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I picked up the Barnes and Noble one recently because they, I think it was Black Friday, because it was like $10 for a faux leather cover that's really nice. It's like, oh, I can just give this away as a present someday.
I guess I have my copy of Dracula, which is an older version, but it's a really neat version, and it's in my Halloween stuff because I take it out every year just for Halloween.
you have it?
Or
Let's
no,
see
this is it. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Who's the art? Is that what's on the
Nice.
cover?
Illustrated by Greg Hildebrandt. Yeah.
Maybe these are the same
I think that's the same
illustrations.
picture. Yeah, that was on yours. But it's a
Probably-
different edition of it, maybe.
Probably goes without saying that I also have it on Kindle. So
Yeah.
it travels with me wherever I go.
I think I got that.
and, that and 1,500 other books.
I think
Yeah,
that
that's
issue
great.
Mike got. Oh, that's really nice.
Wow.
I got that for Ethan because he likes Vampire the Masquerade.
Nice.
Speaking of vampires, I didn't know I was going to ask this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Anne Rice passed away recently. A
Mhm.
great talent. By all accounts, a very nice lady. Guys, what's your favorite vampire novel of hers? Is it The Interview with a Vampire?
Of hers.
Yeah, of hers. Yeah.
That's so hard to choose. Probably The Vampire Lestat, actually. I
Yeah, I'll
really
go with
liked
you,
that
Bridget.
book. And I was really sad they didn't make that into a movie, but I'm also glad they didn't at the same time.
Coming now, so
No.
hope you enjoy it.
Isn't there? Yeah, there's a Lestat
Good.
series coming. Isn't
See,
there?
I
Yeah,
think-
that's different though than the book, The Vampire Lestat, which is very specifically about Lestat's story, his origin story, and all that.
I remember I read Interview with a Vampire when it first came out, when it was first in paperback. And I just wasn't thrilled, so I never really read any of her other stuff. So
Read The Vampire Lestat. Yeah, because it's not really a spoiler to say that where The Vampire Lestat ends is the same place that Interview with a Vampire ends. So it's basically this, like, going back to Lestat's origin, catching up his perspective of things that happened with Louis, and then the end is at the same place.
My favorite one is Blood and Gold. It's about a really, really old vampire by the name of Marius.
Yeah, that was good too.
Very well done on Audible too, by the way. A great reader. I forget his name, but
I think
Anne
actually,
Rice introduced the concept of a vampire subculture.
mm,
Like Scott Silverman, Buffy, where we have vampires with their own bars. And
What year did Interview with the Vampire come out?
In the 70s, like 76 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real early.
The book, you mean? Yeah.
Actually, Rick, I'm going to say that comes out because of Monster Club.
oh,
From,
yeah, earlier.
Yeah, in the 60s, right?
Right.
Who wrote R. Chetwynd Hayes?
Yes. I've only seen the movie.
Right.
There's-
Nice.
So my favorite would probably be the original, but
The first book.
yeah, Interview with the Vampire. I liked some of what she did with Vampire Lestat and Queen of the Damned, as far as like the vampire history that she goes into. But I remember, so I read Vampire Lestat after I read Vampire Junction by S.P. Somto, I think is the name.
Yeah.
Is that correct? So
Yes.
he did the punk rock star vampire just, I think, significantly better. So it was kind of hard to go from, I read them not quite back to back, but close enough that it made it kind of difficult for me to get into Vampire Lestat as much as I think most people did. And there's a surprising amount of stuff that is similar between the two novels.
Well, Blood and Gold, Marius, he's so old, and I've said this on the show before, because he's lived such a long time, he acts differently. You know, he's not an idiot. Like, well, Lestat's not an idiot, but Lestat needs attention. You know, Marius doesn't. So.
Well, and the story of him and how he becomes a vampire specifically, like that transition is unique to just about any other vampire in transition.
The god in the tree.
Yes.
I remember. Yes. Amazing. Yeah. It's a really good book. Oh, and Bridget, your great poster back there with Frank Langella.
Yes.
You guys know I like Angel, of course. I might have mentioned it before. But in the first season, there's an episode where this lady finds out that he's a vampire. And she's like, but vampires, they're not real. They're like, you know, movies and stuff like that. And Angel says, well, the only one I ever really believed was Frank Langella. So it's a pretty funny line.
Did you
That's
see
great.
the Broadway production?
I wish.
What'd you say?
I would love to have seen it. If they're like, I've been trying to track down a recording of it somewhere. I would love to see it, but I don't think
Of what? I'm sorry.
of the Broadway
Oh,
actual version of Dracula. I don't know that there's a recording out there that actually exists.
And counting. So you only know Frank Langella from the movie version then?
Yes. And he's great.
yeah.
But I love Edward Gorey. He's like one of my favorite artists of all time. So I'm still gonna have that poster because it's like two of my favorite things together.
Yeah. Langella just got kicked off of House of Usher and was replaced by Bruce Greenwood.
I heard that, and
undisclosed why.
so weird.
Yeah.
I hope he wasn't a jerk because
Me too, because I really like him.
yeah.
I'm sorry,
Well,
Bridget. I
he-
didn't
No,
mean that.
I'm agreeing with you.
All I know is he started ranting about cancel culture after it happened. So
He did?
yeah.
Oh dear.
Well. Oh well. That's not within the purview of this show, so we will
He
continue.
was great as Skeletor, though. I can say that much.
Um,
And he was great in Ninth Gate.
Oh God, yeah. And that's okay. To my point, thank you. That's a great segue, Bridget, because
Oh, you're welcome.
so I'm sitting there thinking. I mentioned 1999 movies earlier, right? Mystery Man, The 13th Warrior, and The Ninth Gate. These are 1999 movies. There's something weird about. Is it just me, or there's a hell of a lot of great movies came out in that year, 1999.
We all thought we were going to die.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Tonight we're gonna party like it's 19.
Okay, so here's a few that I liked. The 13th Warrior, of course, American Beauty. Let's see here. Being John Malkovich, that's a 1999 movie. Bicentennial Man, where Robin Williams, you don't like it? Or you
So
do?
sad. It's
Oh,
great. It's just sad.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Blair Witch Project, which back then was actually scary. Blast from the Past. No, I'm kidding. I don't like Blast from the Past. Let's. No.
You leave Brendan Fraser alone.
Yeah.
You keep Brendan Fraser's name out of your mouth.
He needs the work. Eyes Wide Shut. I don't know. I can't ever decide if I like that movie or not, or if I even understand it. You know, that's Kubrick's last movie. What else? Okay. The Matrix
Mhm.
and the 13th Floor, which had the unfortunate luck of coming out roughly the same time as The Matrix.
Yes, because it's a great movie.
It is a great movie, and I would encourage everybody to watch it and to not watch any trailers. Yes, we're past Pete's spoiler thing, but this is
a little bit.
this is just the spoil. It's just too good to spoil. You know what they eventually find out. So, Rick, your mic doesn't like us today.
What?
Oh, it's just echo, but now you're good now. It's just been moody. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Magnolia came out. I mentioned The Matrix. Of course, probably the best from that year is Muppets from Space.
It was actually really funny. As a teenager, I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, it's a pretty good film.
As a what?
As a teenager, just a little younger than you. Not much, but a little.
Christ. Stir of Echoes. It seems to me that a lot of great movies that came out that didn't get a lot of attention or that were panned, but later were recognized as pretty damn good movies.
Well, Stir of Echoes had the unfortunate, because Sixth Sense also came out that year.
Right.
So people were comparing the two.
Just like The Matrix and 13th Floor, yeah.
Exactly. And I actually thought Stir of Echoes was like one of my, it's one of those, I don't want to call it a horror film because it's really not, but mystery, I don't know what you call it, supernatural mystery.
I think that supernatural mystery nails it. Yeah.
They do some things with that film that I thought were really interesting. And the idea of, because it's a very similar concept to The Sixth Sense, but it was like, his son can see things and he's like, something happened to him. And so he could kind of see stuff sometimes. And the way they described it as he's like a flashlight on the fritz that you have to bang to get to work. And I loved that imagery for his ability to kind of see things. It was so good.
And that couch scene was just epic. Not only the scene, but the music in that scene it is incredible. And then his little boy, he sees him at the top of the stairs after this incident occurs, in the middle of the night. And his son says, "You're awake now, Daddy." And at first you think he means you're awake, at face value, you're not in bed. But the little boy really means is you're starting to see what I can see, because the next thing he says is, "Don't be afraid of it, Daddy." But talk about a creepy beginning that you remember the beginning where he's talking and you hear him in the baby monitor and he's talking to nobody in the room. And then he's like, "Oh, yeah, I have a question. Does it hurt to be dead?" And I was like, holy shit.
The
this is the little kid in the movie.
The things you left out.
Don't be afraid of it, Daddy.
What, Pete?
You left some great films out.
Not done, but you can shoot some out.
The Green Mile.
Absolutely.
Very
Toy
good.
Story.
Classic.
Toy Story is great.
Toy Story 2.
Two.
Okay.
Tarzan and Fight Club.
Oh, Fight
We don't
Club.
talk about Fight Club.
We don't talk about Fight Club, but I've been trying to get my son. I mentioned it to him every once in a while. You need to watch Fight Club because I know once he finally does, he's going to love it.
You mean the animated Tarzan, right?
Yes, the animated Tarzan.
Another animated film you left out was The Iron Giant. One of the better Superman-related animated films. There's also it was a mini series, so it wasn't screened, but Storm of the Century came out that year with Tim Daly.
Oh yeah,
That was pretty good.
I loved that one. That ending bothered me.
Sleepy Hollow. I mean, what
Office.
is it about 1999? Seriously.
Office Space.
Oh God,
Classic.
yes,
The greatest of all time.
the greatest movie of all time. Yeah.
And
He's going to get fired because he doesn't have enough flair.
Nicolas Cage's best film ever. 8mm.
That was one fucking grim film.
Yeah, that's a horror film. I can say that.
God.
It was dreadful. What are you talking about?
Now,
best
listen,
film?
guys, listen. I want you to look at Bridget, and she's got the cat ears on her headphones. She's got a little bit of flair, and it's not because I asked her to do it. It's because she wants to do that. Now, I don't see any of you guys. Well, Ben can be. We could forgive Ben. He's got flair. He's got the.
I wore my flair today.
Matt has a whole library behind him. I think that counts. So that's right.
Yeah, but maybe think about
If you want,
the
I can
flair
put
that
on
you
my
have.
fez.
That's flair, all right. Yeah.
It suits the Doctor Who discussion too.
When we're done here, I'll need you all to email
do
me your
have
TPS
flair.
reports.
Yeah, there we go.
Just describe that for people listening later.
All right, so I have a whole handful of rings, including Black Onyx, Miskatonic University class of 1928, and a Hydra tentacled skull ring.
Do you wear these all the
That's
time? Or did you
awesome.
just put them
That's
on?
appropriate. You look like Ben Kingsley in Iron Man 3.
Wow.
Some have called me a terrorist. I consider myself a teacher. Any more movies from? I mean,
The Mummy came out. That's
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's a
Brilliant.
fun.
the best Brandon Fraser film.
So as caper films go, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Yeah, pretty great. Pretty great. Galaxy Quest.
Oh my God, best
Oh
movie
yeah.
We're
ever.
gonna
Yeah.
talk about Star Trek in a minute. Galaxy Quest is
I mean, you've got a
brilliant.
funny Star Trek type movie, and you've got a funny superhero movie. Mr.
Yeah.
Man, that's it.
So Galaxy Quest, when I went to go see that, I can't remember why I had not seen any previews or anything about it. And I'm the person that's been a Star Trek nerd since I could sort of walk and maybe talk. I loved Star Trek forever. And I knew nothing about this film. And I walked into it and it just blew me away. It was so hilarious. And I'm glad that I knew nothing about it because it just made fun of everything that I love.
but
Hey.
not
In the
not
best
belittle
way.
it. It didn't belittle it.
No.
It's like a joking amongst friends, like enjoying making fun of it. It was really
Well,
good.
the great thing about Galaxy Quest 2 is that all of us nerds, that's our dream to like have something be real and have the guy call us and be like, hey, we need, and he's like,
Remember that
Brandon,
one
we
part
need
where
your
he goes-
help.
Well, my
Remember that
favorite
one
thing
part where he
is
goes, "It's real. It's all
know
real."
it's
And he's like,
not real.
"I knew it."
know it's real.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, no, because first he says it's not real. I know better than that. He's like, no, it is real. Yes, I knew it.
I knew it. Yeah.
And then-
Hey, speaking of Star Trek, you guys want to see my Klingon bird of prey?
Oh, please. I've already used that joke this week.
You have bird
Yeah.
of prey tattoo?
It's
Yes.
been on my timeline.
I told that joke to Logan yesterday, but he actually thought it was funny after I explained it because he's not a Star Trek nerd.
It's not as cool as my Romulan warbird.
No, probably not. Stigmata, Summer of Sam. I don't know, but yeah. Anyway, a lot of movies in 1999. I don't get it, but
It was a good
cool.
year.
It was a very good year. All right, here's some movies that I'm looking forward to. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. I just,
It's got great reviews.
yeah,
Mhm.
96% Rotten Tomatoes. When an interdimensional rupture unravels reality, an unlikely hero must channel her newfound powers to fight bizarre and bewildering dangers from the multiverse as the
I
fate
like
of the
how
world hangs in the balance.
I like how Captain Giorgio is pretending to be someone else in that movie.
Yes.
It's
It's kind of
also
like
Uh,
when Michelle Forbes tried to get away from Star Trek. It's like Isabel and I would say, "Look, Ensign Rose in another show." It's like she can't escape.
you also
It's
get
another-
short round grown up.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's another multiverse movie. Everything I hadn't heard of this movie before 2 days ago.
but it's gotten great reviews.
mhm.
Here's another one that I want to see called "You Are Not My Mother."
That sounds
Uh,
creepy in a good way.
Yeah. In a North Dublin housing estate, Char's mother goes missing. When she returns, Char is determined to uncover the truth of her disappearance and unearth the dark secrets of her family. But the ones that I'm really looking forward to are one's called Men, and one I just discovered yesterday. I can't wait till it goes to streaming. It's called Watcher.
Okay, so about the movie Men, did you all ever read? This was ages ago. Frank Herbert wrote a book, I think, called The White Plague,
Yeah.
which used to be a name for tuberculosis, but I don't think he was referring to that. It's where all the women in the world die because someone has released a virus, and there are only a few that are saved. And when they save it, suddenly they have the ability to make women immortal, just about. It sounds like it was a very similar premise.
No.
Hmm.
Totally
Alfred
different.
Hitchcock, the television show once had a premise where only women survive. All men are gone.
No, it's about here it is. In the aftermath of a personal tragedy, Harper retreats alone to the beautiful English countryside, hoping to find a place to heal. However, someone or something from the surrounding woods appears to be stalking her. What begins as simmering dread soon becomes a fully formed nightmare inhabited by her darkest memories and fears. I do look at the trailer for this one. It really sold me. It looks very creepy. And then, like I said, Watcher is set during the Summer of Sam and the New York City. No, I'm thinking of the Wolf Hour. Watcher is as a serial killer stalks the city. A young actress who just moved to town with her boyfriend notices a mysterious stranger watching her from across the street. Now, it doesn't sound too creepy, but when you see the trailer, it's very, very much so. So anyway, those are a couple of movies I'm looking forward to. I think I'm gonna have to get curtains. Sun keeps shining up in here and messing up my background. So, damn sun, source of all life. All right, so let's we're close to wrapping up. Do we want to talk about PICARD? Or
Let's do Moon Knight first, very quickly.
Oh yeah. Oh, and Rick, Pete. I mean, you forgot Phantom Menace in the 1980s.
No, I didn't forget Phantom Menace. You forgot Dogma.
Oh,
You did forget Dogma. You're right.
Alanis Morissette as God. How could you forget that?
Yeah.
I
What a
could forget it
terrible movie.
because it's a Kevin Smith film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Rick, Moon Knight.
I thought it was excellent. I thought Oscar Isaac gave the best performance of a superhero I've ever seen.
He is really great.
It's also the role is written. It's the most complex role that I think I've ever seen a superhero presented in.
I'm gonna have to watch it.
I was less enthusiastic about it than Rick was, but spoiler free. So just
All right. We're going to talk about Picard now.
But
If
wait,
you've
wait,
not,
since I've not watched the last 2 episodes. We're gonna watch them tonight, so I'm
Oh,
gonna
okay.
sign off. But just a reminder: if you want to win in the Lovecraft Museum by Steve Rasnick Tem, send an email to eZinePrizes@gmail.com and put museum in the subject heading. We'll draw a winner in about 6 weeks.
thank you, Matt, for
With
doing
that,
that.
good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night,
Enjoy
Matt.
Picard. All right. So from this point onward, if you've not seen all 10 episodes of season 2 of Picard, you might want to stop listening and come back when you have seen them all. So you've been warned. Ben hated the ending. Let's start there.
I mean, I would say the whole season itself is pretty mediocre.
It
I
is
didn't
kind
hate
of blah.
I didn't hate the whole season. There are some moments in it that I thought were really good, but they were few and far between. And we're talking 10 episodes or roughly 45 minutes an episode.
Mm-hmm.
There were some episodes where I was like, we didn't need this. This whole episode didn't need to exist. This could have been like a two-parter. And the ending, I think the ending relied significantly on fan service to, like, here's Wesley Crusher as a traveler. Oh, and he's in charge of the supervisors.
That was the worst part.
And it's like, oh, he's in charge of the supervisors, just like Gary Seven from the original series. And now we're going to make, I can't even remember her name. Someone's created character.
Corey.
Corey.
She's going to make her one. And I'm like, I don't even care about her character. Why even include the scene? There are a couple nods it made that I thought was like, so they have Adam Sung at the end after he gets defeated. He pulls out a folder and it's Project Khan from 1996.
That was awesome.
That's referencing 2 things, because the original series, Khan was said to have started his revolution or whatever in 1996, the eugenics wars. And another piece of Star Trek may have aired recently that might have shifted the date on the eugenics wars a little bit, but I'm not saying what. You might want to go watch that. But the other thing it's referencing is in Enterprise, one of the Sung ancestors, he was doing genetic manipulation and the Klingons hired him. And they talk about how the Sung, this is before they switched to androids. And so it's actually a reference to an Enterprise episode, because I guess Adam Sung and then I guess his next couple of Sungs after him, all played by Brent Spiner, I'm assuming, continued in that project of genetic manipulation, because they're responsible for the smooth forehead Klingons.
So I'm not trying to be mean. Go ahead.
I was going to say, all these songs also seem to create the same artificial women who look alike.
Yeah.
No apparent reason.
And they all look identical.
Yeah.
There's no apparent reason. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Maybe there isn't a reason, though. And if you're doing something where you're having to repeat an experiment over and over and over again, you'd think you'd work with genetic material that you had readily available. So that's not entirely.
But they made it clear he didn't have it at the end of the episode.
At the end of the episode, no, he didn't. But he would have had it in his mind. Maybe, I don't know, like maybe she relates to something that we don't know. I mean, there are plenty of times in original Star Trek episodes where they have multiple androids that all look alike, or clones or something. So I think there's a possibility there's something that exists.
2 songs in 2 different time periods.
It's actually 4 songs in 4 different time periods that all look identical, not including Data.
Right, but
not including like created ones, just naturally.
Yeah.
But both Data and this current song are creating a daughter in the same image.
Yeah.
And there's centuries between them.
Maybe Sung's a vampire. Okay, wait, we're past the Dracula discussion. My bad.
Yeah. Well, the part that I liked about the ending was, I'm kind of a sap for kind of stuff like this, was, him hugging Q and realizing that maybe Q was just trying to help him in his own way.
In his own weird way.
Yeah, and I like that.
Weird way.
So the funny thing is, Q had a great line of dialogue where Picard's like, "Oh, am I supposed to like do something is that why you're saving me? And he says, isn't saving one life worth enough? Why does it have to be some galaxy ending event? And that's a huge criticism that the fans have had for all the new Star Trek. Every season of Discovery, the first season of Picard, it's always some massive, universe ending event or universe changing event that they've got to step in and fix. So I loved Q's line, which is immediately undermined as soon as they get back to the present, right? As soon as he gets back to the present, he's the one that has to say, no, Federation, stand down. We're going to work with the Borg Queen, and we're going to save this sector of space and the Federation. And then the Borg join the Federation because of him, which is also completely insane and stupid. So it undermines.
But is that really the Borg? I don't know.
It's not the same.
I disagree.
Borg.
No.
I agree.
It's also a time. We give it another one of these chicken and the egg time paradoxes.
Yeah.
They went in to fix something that the Borg Queen exists because they go back in time, but she's the reason they go back in time.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said, it undermines that great scene between John Delancey and Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
It completely undermines it. And again, that's why I said, there's some parts of it that John Delancey and Patrick Stewart, as few scenes as they had together, were so good together.
Amazing. Yeah.
And that scene where it's Q helping Picard, not for any particular reason other than he likes Picard, and it's the last thing he's able to do. I loved that.
I did too. And I don't want to sound mean. Celebrities are people too, and they have feelings. But I don't think that Will Wheaton has any screen presence. You guys feel free to disagree with me.
Has he even acted in the last, I don't know.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, a little bit. Parts of the series.
I felt like I was watching an outtake from his crappy talk show. That's how bad it was.
Yeah,
he's not playing Wesley Crusher. He's Will Wheaton from the what do they call it after Ready Room? That's what it is.
The Ready Room, yeah.
He was Will Wheaton from the Ready Room, and he showed up and said he was Wesley Crusher. It was bad.
Yeah.
It was awkward. I'll definitely say that.
Okay. Well, it's not just me then.
No.
So the thing that's bothering me is all this outrage that Rios and Girardi won't be returning for season 3.
Yeah, and I don't understand the outrage.
I don't understand that because it's clear to me that they've been written out of the show with their parts.
Yeah, how could they be back?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I even read
there's a lot of outrage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rios had a good ending.
He did. Yeah, he had a great ending.
Well,
you haven't read what, Bridget?
I haven't read that they said that they were filming a lot of season 3 while they're filming season 2. So it's not like these actors didn't know from the beginning that they weren't going to be in season 3. It's not like, oh, now season 2 is over, we're firing you. Like they
wait
knew
a minute, the actors
well in
are
advance.
Outraged, or the fans are outraged?
No.
The fans.
Okay.
But the actors knew, and the actors don't seem all that upset about it because their stories ended really awesome.
Yeah,
besides, what can you hope for?
Let's not forget that the name of the show is Picard, and Picard's name, his name appears somewhere in the title, so it must be about him,
Right.
That's a dad joke.
They may not have signed a 2-year contract. They may have known going in that they're only going to be.
Yeah.
I mean,
Rios you get paid for 3 years and work for 2. There's nothing wrong with that.
Rios ends really, really well, but it's unless you want to do another time travel story, then he's done.
Well, they pretty much explained to in the last episode what happened to him.
Yeah,
right.
He's dead now. So.
He's been dead for several hundred years.
Girardi is the Borg Queen. I don't know what you want to call them. The Sporg. I don't know. They're the softer, gentler Borg. They still want to assimilate you, but they're going to ask your permission first.
So with Rios,
Can we please assimilate you? Resistance, in fact, is not futile.
But it is unproductive.
This is voluntary.
Yeah. So with Rios, I get, because Rios was one of the more popular characters of the show. So a lot of people really liked him both first season and now.
I saw that. I mean, we all saw that it coming, that he was going to stay.
Easily.
21st.
Oh, from the first episode, I knew.
Absolutely.
The second episode, I knew it was going to happen.
So
hey, how about that line? That she goes, "Are you from outer space?" No, I'm from Chile. I just work in outer space.
Yeah.
I'm from Iowa. I just work in outer space.
And on that note, like
there
seriously,
were some great moments, but
they
still.
tried to do in, let's just say, they tried to do in many episodes what Star Trek 4 did in one movie.
Mhm.
And I think that's a lot of I'm going to listen to me. This is my turn. This is my turn, finally, because I freaking loved this season.
You did?
Yes.
All right, we're listening.
They tried to do in a whole series what happened in Star Trek 4 in 2 hours. And that in lies some of the hiccups and some of the exciting things that happened. For one thing, if the fans are going to get mad because Rios was only a couple episodes, then I'm wondering, okay, who got mad about the fact that Sulu was in like 2 scenes of Star Trek 4? He was flying a helicopter, and then all of a sudden he was over here, and then he was in the background of this scene. Like it's just part of the story. You're going to have some people that are featured in the story. And like Star Trek 4, this season of PICARD was very sporadic with different characters and a lot of different things happening in different locations and a lot of different goals, but everybody was trying to ultimately work towards the same thing. Were there some things that worked great? Yes. Were there things that didn't work great? Yes. But I don't think fan service is necessarily a bad thing, because I'm a fan and I freaking love those moments.
I like fan service. I don't think it's a bad thing either. It done right, of course.
Yeah, that's the done right is the key thing. Wesley Crusher
was not done. How is that even fan service? And he wasn't very popular.
Okay. Well, I have to say though, like it was still nice for me to know, regardless of how the scene was super awkward. I had asked like a scene or two before that, what happened to Corey? Did she just leave? And what happened? And then regardless of what you might think of Wesley Crusher, I always thought the Traveler thing was cool, that he went off and was with the Travelers. So I was just like, oh, that's kind of a nice little bow. That's just all I kind of looked at it as, whether or not the scene was executed well or it was thrown in there. At least it wasn't the last scene. You know what I mean? It wasn't something that we were left with. It was just kind of put in there like, oh, that's nice. I could put a little bow on that. I like that.
I will say to you that is exactly what was going through my mind when that happened. I was like, please do not let this be the last scene.
Yes, and I totally agree with that.
I think
it's like, oh shit. Because, okay, so you know what it really felt like? What it could have been? It could have been a mid-credit scene.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Oh,
yeah.
That would have been better.
That would have been much better, because it had no continuity with everything else that was going on.
No, but it was a nice to know kind of thing. Yeah, I agree. Mid-credit scene would have been perfect.
I think they did an excellent job of reconciling the presence of Picard's mother in the original series episode, which would happen in this series.
Yes.
I said they're going to totally contradict themselves. They contradict themselves, but they explained it very well.
Can I say something about his mother? I'm glad you brought up his mother, because I would have forgotten to say this. I'm of two minds of this, because I really loved the fact that they, brought they brought depression to the forefront. They talked about it basically on the show. I'm saying this wrong. I'm sorry. His mother was severely depressed, and it's nice to see this in fiction, because so many of us go through this, and in like many things, it's invisible, much of the time. Robin Williams was depressed, but man, he had a smile on his face all the time. Okay, but the other side of this says, wait a minute, this is 400 years from now, and they don't have better drugs to regulate depression. This can't possibly be.
Yeah, because they make it clear that it's a chemical imbalance issue, right? They make it clear that she's suffering from like a bipolar type issue where she's manic. She has manic episodes and depressive episodes.
Right, because here in the 21st century, the early 21st century, we've not come anywhere near to curing depression, but there are some great meds that help with it. And of course, different people need different things, and sometimes they have to try a different cocktail of things. But add 400 years to that. She's going through this, and he locks her in a room. That's his solution, instead of getting her help from a medical personnel. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't, but at the same point, I wonder, just being devil's advocate, I'm not saying this is I can't talk all of a sudden, the be all, but it seemed like his dad was very much like maybe a Freudian psychologist and was very maybe older school traditionalist. And I would not be surprised, and this is going way into the weeds, mind you, that he was maybe using his own methods and not necessarily modern methods. Or she could have been like, no, I don't want you to drug me or whatever. There could have been a lot more to it, is all I'm saying. But in general, I would agree with you. I hope that they would have some better things around that time.
But to add on to what Bridget said, they do hint that because he's doing Picard in his brain is seeing his dad as a psychologist. And he specifically talks about how you're a bit of a throwback. The Federation doesn't do it this way anymore. So they do hint at that. It's just because it's not stated. We don't really know. And so the one thing I did love about that backstory is the first 8 episodes of the season, you think he's got an abusive father that maybe killed his mother.
Mm-hmm.
And he even talked in interviews about growing up with an abusive father.
Right.
So I do love how they shifted the perspective, because to children, things may seem one way and they're another. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, again, it fell victim to the format of the show and what they were trying to do. And the way they addressed it, it leaves these kind of holes. Like, okay, now we've got to fill in the backstory. Like, okay, well, the only way this makes sense is if they're somehow like Luddites, basically, right? And they believe only talk therapy is the cure, even though today we know that talk therapy is not a cure for this kind of depression.
Right.
We know that it's an actual like physical, this is not like, oh, I'm sad because this thing happened. This is a physical problem in your brain.
Correct.
Talk therapy is meant to help regulate symptoms, not cure. And it's meant to be done in addition to other methods.
Now, another issue that I go ahead.
All right. So before we leave this subject, not to make light of it, but my kids and I are watching the original series, and we just watched the episode Miri, which is set on a duplicate Earth where they were trying to do longevity experiments and they wiped everybody out but the kids. So we're talking about that, and like, what did we learn about this? What are the themes, and what do we know about the Federation now? And we're talking about it, and my one kid says, "Oh, and despite all these medical advances, we still haven't cured male pattern baldness." Because one of the red shirts is got like, he's got a receding hairline and a big empty spot in the back. And I'm like, really? But it's the same point.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think there's some other references too to like even the common cold, where they kind of imply that they've sort of cured it, but there's still like viruses that may cause the cold that they haven't come in contact with. So they still deal with it from time to time. So it is kind of interesting of me, like, are they choosing to be bald or?
Well, that is canonically, that is it. They choose to be bald.
Yeah.
That's like Patrick Stewart being bald they went with it and didn't put a toupee on him. Well, he would have worn one, but
Kim Smeltzer just said in the live chat, maybe they've just learned not to mind such things as
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
They see it not as a problem. Yeah.
yeah, it's no longer a problem.
Now, a lot of people asked when Picard went back in time and met with Guinan, why didn't she remember him from, what, 100 years ago? You guys know the solution to that, right?
well, I know what the producer said the solution was, if that's what you're asking.
Well, what do you think?
So the producer said it's because due to the changes in the timeline, they never went back in time for him to meet her in the past in times, was it Time Zero? Is that the name of the episode?
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah. That explanation doesn't really work. If you,
Yeah, I have a hard time with it too.
it very much reads like they got asked this question on Instagram and they're like, oh crap, we forgot about that episode.
Yeah.
How can you forget? It was the first thing I thought of.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. This is actually why you have continuity guys.
No, they were all their continuity guys only watched Star Trek 4 apparently, because there were about 80 references to Star Trek 4. Some of them were great. Like I love that they brought the guy back that played the punk on the bus.
Yes.
And he's got PT.
That was amazing.
But this is so. For example, this explanation doesn't work because the guy on the bus clearly remembers Spock
Yeah.
because he's playing the same song, and she says the same thing Kirk did. Hey, can you turn that down? And he gets all scared.
Sorry.
Sorry, I just really like the song, and he's like rubbing his neck.
But is it like, when Guinan senses things across different timelines, like maybe he just has that sort of, not that he's the same race as Guinan, but
yeah, he's
when you have that continuity, like that deja vu feeling,
You guys know the story behind this bus.
it's an alternate timeline.
I know the guy worked in as he's a special effects guy on the movie. I don't know anything beyond that.
He was like, I don't remember. I wish I had in front of me. It's a really, really sweet story where he talked Leonard Nimoy into this scene and even created the song for the scene. And I really wish I had in front of me because I'm not doing justice. It popped up in an article somewhere maybe 2-3 years ago, and I read it and I thought, this is so nice, And besides that, Star Trek 4 is one of my favorite
it's
Star
brilliant.
Trek movies.
Yeah, I'm not denigrating it anyway. And that's why I like that it's the same actor, same costume, the whole thing. I thought that was one of the better scenes of the season. That's a proper way, or Rios' line that's referencing Kirk. But there are other callbacks that they did that just
Here it is. Sorry, Ben, didn't mean.
No, I was just saying, there's other callbacks that's where I say it's that bad fan service where it's, here's Wesley Crusher, remember him?
Right. This is good fan service. Okay, so it's on Wired, and it's from 2016, a little further back than I remembered. Catching up with Star Trek 4's true hero, the unkind punk on the bus. I won't read the whole thing, but just a couple of things. Though he's on the screen for less than 2 minutes, the orange-haired rapscallion, who uses that word anymore, played by Kirk Thatcher, made a big impression upon the Enterprise crew and audience members by giving Captain Kirk the finger, only to find himself on the receiving end of a Vulcan nerve pinch. Going on. Yeah, maybe this isn't the article that. Oh, yeah. But it would turn out to be Thatcher's most lasting contribution to the voyage home. He and Nimoy had grown chummy during filming. So when the filmmakers were looking to cast the punk, Thatcher lobbied the director to get the role. I told him, look, I used to have a mohawk and I'll dress the part. You won't recognize me. Leonard said, huh, really? In that deep, bass, profound no way. I couldn't tell if he thought it was a stupid idea or not. Nimoy kept Thatcher waiting for more than a week before giving him the go-ahead, prompting Thatcher to dye his hair orange, shave the sides of his head, and go all this for a 2-minute scene. I love it. And go shopping for punk gear in clothing stores on Melrose Avenue and in North Hollywood. When he finally showed up to the set in costume, complete with dog collar, fake nose piercings, and leopard print Converse sneakers, one of the first people he bumped into was Trek co-star DeForest Kelly. He goes, he looks me up and down real slowly, and with that kind of southern laconic drawl, he just says, "Nice shoes." That should remembers.
That's great.
And for those that don't know, Leonard Nimoy directed Star Trek 4. So that's why it was up to him to decide.
Yeah.
Going back to what Pete said earlier about people being upset that people are leaving the show, the only one I've seen people are upset about is Elnor, because he's actually only in the season, like very briefly. He's in, I think, 5 episodes, and 2 of those are like 2-second cameos. He's alive at the end of the episode. Yeah. And he's not coming. I mean, not that everyone has to be brought back for the next season, but that one, a lot of people really liked his character in season 1, this kind of innocent warrior elf-like character. And a lot of people were disappointed. You know, he's supposed to be the first Romulan in Starfleet, like legally, right? Not covertly.
Right.
And they're kind of like, people are disappointed they're not getting to see that. So that's the only upset. Rios, he got a ton of screen time this season. I mean, he was the B plot, right? Girardi was, I don't know. I didn't think she was that great to begin with, so I'm fine with the way they ended her character.
The singing scene was just a little surreal for me.
It was, yeah.
It was interesting.
We needed endorphins. That was the only way we could get them.
Yeah,
we must sing.
Well, I don't want to start ranting about like how they handled the board, because I'll go on for like 3 hours. But
all right, so let's wrap up. Rick, do you have anything to add?
The actress who played the real Boar Queen was very good.
Yeah, she was amazing.
Annie Wershing or something like that. She was in 24. I remember that. Yeah, she was fantastic. I agree.
Kate?
So I want to switch gears to Strange New Worlds. Have you guys seen it?
Yes,
I've seen it.
Okay.
I haven't seen it.
So when Pike is giving his lecture about Earth history, does he drag Silent Running into Star Trek universe?
Silent Running.
The Bruce Dern
the ecology science fiction movie.
Do you know this, Mike?
No.
Okay, I know the movie, but what did he say?
Never seen
I don't remember.
So Pike literally describes the forest domes that were in
outer space.
Oh, right.
In outer space, and says that these were launched to save the forests until we could bring them back. And then they had grown so large that we just kept them out here. And it's sort of like,
so they clearly stole it from Silent Running, but it's not the same plot.
Right. Okay.
Maybe it was a little hint or
a little nod.
Little nod.
It's a little bit less overt than the Day the Earth Stood Still. 80 million parallels in the episode. So the reference I made about Khan from Picard, the one thing they did do in this episode is he mentions the eugenics wars later in the order of things than happened in original Star Trek. So originally the eugenics wars happened in the 90s. The novels handled it by making it like a covert eugenics wars. The combination of these 2 episodes handled it by saying, well, Khan was created in the 90s, but the eugenic wars were part of the transition into World War III, from like the Second American Civil War to the eugenics wars to World War III. He makes them as kind of like this one long string of conflict.
Since we're talking about continuity problems, the Gorn. His character was imprisoned by the Gorn. I don't think they had first contact until Kirk met them in Arena.
I don't know when their first contact is supposed to be. I know Arena fights one, but I don't know if that was the first contact.
I don't think he had ever seen a Gorn before.
Yeah, they didn't. I agree. They didn't seem to know who they were or anything about them when they did contact them. So
what they did say is her character was not Federation at the time. She was rescued by the Federation. So
she has an interesting last name.
It could be that, and I'll leave it there because it appears that that's one of the things they will touch again.
Now, speaking of all of this, if you only read, speaking of some of this, I should say, if you only read one Star Trek novel in your lifetime.
Oof.
It should be Federation.
Yes,
You know, what I was gonna say. Ben and Bridget look like.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard it.
I was just having a hard time picking one.
Well, no, there are many. But that has to be. Time for Yesterday is great. The second time when he goes back to see his son Spock. Ishmael is great. Another time travel book. But I do think if you had to narrow it to one, Federation just really captures the Federation. It the whole spirit of everything, and it's sort of, wouldn't you agree, Bridget? Bittersweet. I mean, at the beginning of the book, he's there, and he just feels like, even though he could live to be 120, in these days, he's in his 60s and his time's close to an end, which turns out to be correct. And the Guardian hasn't talked to anybody in decades, and he touches it and he asks one question: why? And then the whole novel is the Guardian flashing all of this history into Kirk's mind, and then was there really a person behind it all who guided history that was immortal, and made sure that the right things happened? It's just a very, very, very good book.
And the Guardian of Forever is just one of the coolest things ever created in Star Trek.
Yeah. Before your sun burned hot in space. Yeah.
So let's be clear here.
The Guardian comes back. It's something Mike hasn't seen yet.
Really? Is it in Strange New Worlds, or is it in
Discovery?
Which season? After season 1?
It's season 3. So,
all right.
I'm
not going to watch season 1. So
I mean, maybe you want to go back and
tried.
you can skip it. It's fine.
Yeah. Pete.
So to be clear, while the Federation has this wonderful rule, the Prime Directive, where we're not going to interfere with the natural growth and process of civilizations, there are greater beings of greater power that don't have that rule.
That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And there's a reason why there's a lot of humanoid species in the galaxy.
Yes, but literally the Q and the Travelers seem to be interfering wholeheartedly
all the time. Yeah, and one of my favorite lines on Strange New Worlds is that they're talking about General Order Number 1, and it looks like the talks of, coming out with the Prime Directive is really going to pick up after this, and Pike's like, that'll never happen. That was great.
Well, remind me who the Organians are.
The first
Organians was the peace treaty between the Klingons and the Federation.
They're the what?
So you remember the first
guys who
appearance of the
imposed
Klingons?
peace, the Federation and Klingons.
Yeah, but what? Who
Aaron
are
and
they?
Merce.
I know they enforce peace between Klingons and.
So in the episode, they're the occupants of the planet. The twist was the Klingons occupy. Kirk tries to sabotage the Klingons. The Organians keep trying to tell them to stop. Finally, at the end of it, they step in and say, "Enough!" And they reveal that they're actually, godlike beings, and they enforce it. But they were just the occupants of the planet.
Oh, okay. I thought they were like Q that were out there somewhere drifting.
Well, I mean, after the episode, I guess they are, because they disappear. But yeah, that's the thing is Star Trek there's a joke, I think it's in DS9 maybe, where they joke about it, because there's like literally probably a dozen human-looking godlike beings interfering in mankind and or the galaxy, I guess.
Yeah. And on that note, you might as well, because I just watched What Are Little Girls Made Of? There are probably a half a dozen species of humanoid android that have pretty much approached sentient and should be considered members of the Federation.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And according to Robert Bloch, there are old ones in the universe.
Right. Yes.
So Chavon has made those now android old ones.
They're both in cat's paw references to the old ones, and in What a Little Girl's Name.
Now, back to Federation, and then we'll wrap up. If you've not read this book, read it and sincerely email me and tell me what you think, because I just think it's such a great, and I'll share it with the panel. It's a great book. LovecraftEZine@gmail.com. It's not canon, but Bridget and Ben, would you guys agree with me that it would fall into the category of just almost canon?
Yeah,
It's pretty damn close.
It's good. I mean, most people wouldn't notice. I'll put it
Right.
Well, and in good Star Trek fashion, I mean, there's a lot of even wiggle room with what you'd call canon because of all the time traveling and.
Well,
yeah, I don't get too wrapped up in is this canon. It's more like is this a good story? You know,
you can also cherry pick canon like Star Wars does.
Yeah.
You take bits and pieces of authorized continuations, but not the whole thing.
So Star Trek has a long history of inconsistency, right? Modern fans like, oh my gosh, the sergeant stripes are wrong, or those are commander stripes, not lieutenant, or this or that, or Spock didn't meet this person. But historically, like no one, including Gene Roddenberry, ever cared about that stuff. And Gene Roddenberry's response was, the show itself is not canon. It's like a depiction of real things happening somewhere, so it's going to be inconsistent. That was Gene Roddenberry's own explanation.
And think about this. It's the 60s. He's got an African-American lady there. He's got a Russian. We're in the middle of the fucking Cold War. And he's got a Russian there. There's a reason why Star Trek continued, because of that foundation, even though it lasted only 3 seasons. And the 3rd season wasn't all that great, but there's a reason why it spawned all of the movies and now everything that we're watching today. So
but I would say
the Russian character of Chekhov is overlooked because he had Ilya on Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Mm-hmm. But I would say if you're worried about continuity, don't watch Star Trek then. Don't watch any of it. All of it.
Don't watch
all of it tramples itself constantly. It's terrible. It's terrible about continuity. So just let it go.
Right. So you've not read Federation, Pete?
I read it probably a decade ago.
A decade ago? Okay.
Same. It was a while ago.
I think I like Relic. Is it Relic better?
What's
Relic
that?
was the one with Scotty, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for being here, guys. Thanks to everyone for watching and listening. And a special thanks to my patrons for keeping me going. Got some nice surprises coming this week. So just Google Lovecraft eZine Patreon, or just go to LovecraftEZine Patreon.com. We got another Thomas Ligotti story reading coming, read by John Padgett, and it's only for the patrons. So lots of cool stuff. And by the way, to just speaking to my panelists here, anything I give the patrons, I appreciate you guys being on this show, and I always want to share with you. I know that a couple of you are patrons and are also panelists, but if you see me, say, hey, I sent this to the patrons, and you haven't heard it or read it or whatever, say something to me, remind me, and I'll make sure you get it too. So, and for those of you who are patrons, thank you very much. All right, everybody. Thanks. That was a great PICARD Star Trek discussion. And everybody, quit listening to me, go read Federation, and we will see you next week. Bye.